Bible prophecy is active and unfolding daily. Zechariah 12, Isaiah 17, Psalm 83, Ezekiel 38. Here is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's newscast. Iran is expanding its reach. From Bloomberg, in Nigeria's predominantly Muslim north, Iran is successfully building enclaves of fervent support way beyond the Middle East. An example that Iran wields growing influence in unexpected places. Saudi cables released in 2015 by WikiLeaks reveal concern about Iran-driven Shiite expansion from Mali, Mauritania, Burkina Faso, and Nigeria in West Africa to India and China in Asia. For the Iranians, it's about gaining an advantage anywhere in the world that can be used now or in the future. Iran and North Korea working on nuclear warheads. From Western journalism, Iran is circumventing the restrictions on its nuclear program by collaborating with North Korea on missile development and modifying missiles for nuclear weapons. The two countries also work together on programs meant to upgrade gas centrifuges for uranium enrichment. Hundreds of Iranian scientists visited North Korea to participate in nuclear-related tests or tests with ballistic missiles, while North Korean nuclear experts worked in Iran on ballistic missile-related work and assisted the Iranians with developing their nuclear program. Say something. Are you familiar with this guy? If not, you haven't watched a very enjoyable video, and I will explain in a moment. That's my friend right there, Mr. Brick. Now, last week, someone was trying to get me to debate an atheist who says the Bible is an absolute lie and can prove it. Now, I explained, I'm not interested. I wouldn't give such a person the time of day. I wouldn't even give the notion a moment's consideration. Oh, he knows so much. He's always debating everybody and, That's what the brick is all about, You try and talk to some people, and you may as well be talking to a brick. A brick can't hear. And some people, they have ears, but they can't hear. Some people don't want to hear. Some people just blatantly refuse to hear. Some people hate believers. And I know, my friends, so many of you have tried to make a defense to others who have asked you for a reason for the hope that is in you, and you wound up in a horrible shooting match that got you and the other person or persons nowhere. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15, that's Kepha, tells us to always be prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks for a reason for the hope that is in you. Now, that guy was not asking for a reason that, for the hope that's in me. He wanted me to defend Yahweh, Yeshua, Ruach HaKodesh, so that, he could, make me look like a fool. The only way anyone could make me look like a fool is if I acted like one. And that would involve me trying to talk to someone who doesn't even have a notion of an idea to talk. More often than not, we cannot share the hope that we have with gentleness and respect because the other person wants nothing but an argument. And I know I've seen it. You probably have too. If you argue with somebody like that, they come back with a greater vengeance and a greater volume of anger and hatred. It just gets worse. I always, ignore these people, my friends. Don't even try to talk to them. If somebody comes up to you and they want to know about the hope you have, someone asks you a question and they want to know Yahweh's truth, by all means. But when it comes to someone who wants to dispute or argue, Titus chapter 3, verse 9 tells us to avoid foolish questions and quarrels about the Torah, for they are unprofitable and worthless. Romans chapter 14, verse 1 tells us to welcome those who are weak in their walk with Elohim. Notice it's talking about those who have a walk with Elohim. Those who are weak in their walk, never quarrel with them over opinions. You have to wait until they're mature enough in His Word. I always say there's only one opinion I care about, and it isn't yours, and it isn't mine either, unless either one is in line with Elohim. Elohim's opinion is the only one that matters. It's the only one that counts. It's the only one that has any truth. 2 John, Yochanan, chapter 1, verse 9, tells us that everyone who does not abide in the teaching of Mashiach does not have Yahweh. But whoever abides in his teaching has both the Father and the Son. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, we're instructed, do not receive him into your house or give him any greeting. So, someone was asking me to debate with a person who says the teaching of Mashiach is false. I won't even give him a greeting. I wouldn't even give such a person eye contact. I have a video about witnessing your love for Elohim. That's where you'll see this guy, my friend, the Brick. I'm just saying, don't waste your time trying to talk to bricks or to people who have no interest in anything you have to say. If you haven't seen my video about how to witness your love for Elohim, you'll see the link for it beneath today's video. Click where you see read more and go watch that video. If you haven't seen it, it's a wonderful lesson, and also you'll have some great comic relief as well. Turning to wars and rumors of wars, on Thursday, March 9th, from the Times of Israel, a rocket fired at Israel from Khan Yunis landed inside Gaza. According to Palestinian media, there are no mentions of damages, but this rocket fire in Israel is obviously picking up pace. Then on Saturday, March 11th, from CNN, twin blasts in Damascus killed at least 40 Shiite Iraqi pilgrims and wounded 120 more. Turning to our Intifada update, on Tuesday, March 7th, Ynet News tells us an IDF unit defused 2 explosive charges placed on the Gaza border fence, which were intended to explode as soldiers approached. Also, a 40-year-old Jewish man who had taken his car to get serviced at a garage near Jerusalem picked up a Palestinian hitchhiker who later stabbed him in the shoulder with a knife. Then on Sunday, March 12th, from the Jerusalem Post, 2 Hamas operatives, a 20-year-old and a 22-year-old, were arrested for planning shooting attacks against Israeli targets. The 2 planned to scatter nails on a main road to cause vehicles to stop so they could attack them. Weapons bought to carry out the attack were seized. The two also built bombs to throw at Israelis. Then on Monday, March 13th, from Ynet News, 2 Israeli border policemen were wounded after being stabbed by a Palestinian near the Lion's Gate in the Old City of Jerusalem. The attacker, a resident of Jerusalem, was shot dead by one of the injured officers. This was the first attack in the area in 3 months. Looking at our review for last week's news, Iran is expanding its reach throughout the world, building enclaves of fervent support, and has been circumventing the restrictions on its nuclear program by collaborating with North Korea on missile development and modifying missiles for nuclear weapons. A rocket fired at Israel from Khan Yunis landed inside Gaza. An IDF unit defused 2 explosive charges placed on the Gaza border fence, which were intended to explode as soldiers approached. A 40-year-old Jewish man who had taken his car to get serviced at a garage near Jerusalem picked up a Palestinian hitchhiker who later stabbed him in the shoulder with a knife. 2 Hamas operatives were arrested for planning shooting attacks against Israeli targets, and 2 Israeli border policemen were wounded after being stabbed by a Palestinian near the Lion's Gate in the Old City of Jerusalem. And that, my friends, is what the LameStream Media is not telling you. Abba willing, I'll see you here again next week. Until then, stay safe. Shalom.
Crowded rooms, I need more space than I consume. Enough is time alone with you, underneath a naked moon, sharing confidential moods and making chatter. Mockingbird nocturnal sings notations of eternal things, entering the quantum breeze, flying not for want of wings. He lights his gaze on you and me, simply because we matter.